Morning, everyone. I just want to point out that this first song will feature John Hyde on the piano.
Yes.
As soon as he gets the music set.
And we welcome Chris Anzalone as our guest on the drums. Welcome, Chris. Morning has broken like the first morning. And you can stand and sing it with your hearts open if you care to.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where the Spirit passed. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden soft play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world.
Surely the presence. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Let us pray. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place because each and every one of you with your open hearts and surrendered souls have chosen to be here today. You've chosen to say yes to coming together in community. Whether you're here in person or you're watching online, you are part of the heart of the spiritual body. And every day we strive to remember that this is who we are, connected in oneness, grounded in love, living our faith as spirit. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen and amen. Good morning. You may be seated. Welcome to Unity on the River. In case you've not had a chance to meet, I am Reverend Ogun, Senior Minister. So thrilled to see you all on this bright, shiny, but still a little bit nippy spring day. I was like, come on, man. Spring, warm, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. But it's gorgeous out, and if you hadn't gotten the chance yet, I invite you after service to please go take a sneak peek out our meditation garden. The folks who were here yesterday and 2 weeks ago have done an amazing job. I want to give them a round of applause. And we're going to thank him later, but is Imelda here, perchance? Is our new meditation garden team leader? She's not here today, but she's probably resting off the... But I wanted to give her a special shout out. She's a fairly new member of our community, actually. She's only been in the community a few weeks, and when we put out the invitation to do a meditation garden team leader, she's like, I can get that done, and it's getting done, so... Maybe she's what? Maybe she's watching at home. I hope you're watching at home. If you're not, I'll thank you when you're here next time. Maybe if I think ahead and invite people to be here so I can thank them, they'll be here. But, that's on me. That's my bad. I'm so thrilled you're here today, and also thrilled to be sharing the stage with this amazing music team, this choir, and with our facilitator today, Michelle.
Good morning, Unity on the River. Welcome today. So glad to be here. I'm Michelle Gallant. First, let's welcome our streamers. Give them a big wave. People from all around the world are watching this morning. Thank you so much for being with us today, streamers. Just a reminder, you can watch our services at any time on YouTube, and you can also listen to the lesson on the Spotify or SoundCloud app. So just a short snippet of the service, but the important content. So take a look at that if you haven't already. Also like to welcome anyone who's celebrating with us for the first time. If you could please just raise your hand. Anybody else? Okay. Good friend of mine here from Syracuse. Glad to have her here. So there's up front. And we are giving you a welcome packet that you can fill out and bring to the Spiritual Resource Center if you'd like after the service. And you're getting a flower that will entitle you to 10% off in the bookstore. So thank you so much for coming. Your presence here with us enriches our service, and please know that we welcome all paths to God and hope you can join us again sometime. Unity on the River is a center of celebration, transformation, inspiration, spirit-centeredness, oneness, and joy. Those are our core values. Please hold those truths in your heart as we say our mission and vision statement. Our mission? We are a vibrant spiritual community that celebrates the presence in all and awakens humanity to its divinity. And the vision statement, centered in love, we joyously co-create a world of oneness, peace, and harmony. We have a Healers Open House today after services. Those are generally located in some of the units outside, so you can go there and check out who's offering different services. You can get a sample, talk with them, and have a little bit of time for yourself for a little healing. What's happening next week? Yes, it's our 25th anniversary! Woo! Make sure you are here. We have a wonderful Sunday service coming up. Unity's CEO, Jim Blake, he's a great guy. He was one of your classmates, right? A good friend of Ogun's. We met him when the chaplains were there last year. Our founding minister, Reverend Shipley Allenson, will be here, and a slew of guest artists, including Meg Rain, Curtis Haynes. He was our founding music director here. Leslie Smith, Irene Tompkinson, we have Sherry Gaudette, Brian Dozer, of course, Lisa Plumley, Paula Esty, and the Unity Music Team and Choir. We'll have a potluck community cookout afterwards. You don't want to miss it, really. This is huge. And now, I know it's not Memorial Day yet, but we're asking if you have white or silver to wear next week to do that, to celebrate the 25th, okay? And so we'll break that white, not wearing white before Memorial Day rule, right? Yeah, that's an old one, anyway. Then on Wednesday night, make sure you're here for this one, it'll be Reverend Shipley Allenson and guest musicians Meg, Leslie, Amity Castanel, Ken Clark will be back, Steve Shigaris, Mike Bruin, Keith Bickford, John Hyde, and Temple Thieves, remember them? And Curtis Haynes, Paula Esty, and Lisa Plumley. So Wednesday night, let's pack the house. And Brian Dozer on Wednesday, too. So that Wednesday night service is also going to be amazing, so make sure you're here for both. And then we have more. Wait, there's more. On Friday, Janice Stanfield will be here with us on May 10th at 7 with a concert. And then on Saturday, she's a busy gal on Saturday. She's doing 2 workshops, one on improve with improv in the morning, and then she's going to do pub theology with Ogun, and then she's going to get back here and do a workshop on learning to play guitar. So all kinds of things here happening on Saturday the 11th, and then she's our speaker on the 12th. So please check out at the Spiritual Resource Center all about that. And make sure you also fill out a memory sheet to put up on the wall. And are you taking pictures again this week, Lisa? Yeah, Lisa can take your picture with your little memory block. And then we really want to fill up that wall, so make sure you do that. And if you have any pictures to share, send them to the office or bring them in soon. Okay, now it's the time in our service where we greet each other in love with Namaste. I see you, I see the divine in you. I see your magnificence. Namaste.
To hug in this place. Let me see. Oh, let me get this right. So, Shambhala is a place in mythological thought. Shambhala is a place where magic happens, where it's always peaceful and there's never disagreement and we live in harmony and peace. It's a magical land up in the Himalayas. A magical city. So Shambhala, this is the great turning, and I wrote it for Joanna Macy's. Since we're not so far past Earth Day, this is for all the earth and all of us and the peace that we all seek. Shambhala. Oops. Sorry. You know, the heat, and then it gets cold, and then it gets hot. There it is, that's the one. Everybody breathe. This is the part that my mother used to say, "Oh my God, you've got to develop your patter." She'd say, "Well, you do, you develop your patter."
Brian, tell a few jokes.
Shambhala, Shambhala. Oh yes, let's say that together. Shambhala, Shambhala. Turn to your neighbors and turn to your friends. Turn to your families and kiss them, and then turn to the sun and turn to the land. Turn, turn, turn again in the great Shambhala, 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 Shambhala. Shambhala, 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 Shambhala. Turn to the earth and turn to the sky. Turn to your gardens and plant your corn high. Turn to the winged ones the animals call. Turn, turn, turn to the earth in the great turning. The great Shambhala, 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 Shambhala. Shambhala, 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 Shambhala. Turn to your heart and turn to your mind. Turn to compassion with insight and find. Turn to community, reach out to care. Turn, turn, turn and share in the great turn. Shambhala, 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 great turn. Shambhala, 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 shambhala.
So earlier this week, my girlfriend Sarah and I, we got in a little bit of argument's too strong to word, maybe place of conflict, disconnect, if you will, disagreement, and misunderstanding. And I want to tell you about it. And being the great mind reader that I am, I know there are two things you're wondering right away. One, yes, I did get her permission to tell you this. And two, you're also probably wondering, oh, what did he do now? You're not wrong, but that's not the point here. And what actually precipitated this isn't the point either. But the point was what happened right after this thing, this exchange, this event, whatever. Right after it, because I responded one way, and then she responded to my response in a quite rational, normal way, but then I kind of over-responded to her response, and kind of off to the races we went. So a couple days later, I'm still, we're trying to reconnect and go through that process, and I was asking myself, but why did I overreact and overrespond the way I did? Like, in the moment, I was kind of like, internally going through this place of, you don't need to react like that. What I said wasn't and I have a right to say what I want to say, and I'm going through all of this internally. And I was like, why am I over-responding this way? So it took me a couple days to figure out what it was, and I figured out what it was because I realized what time of the year it is. What time of the year it is for me. I'm continuing my take your request talk. A few weeks ago I put it out there, hey, whatever you want me to talk about, ask me to talk about. And this came in from a couple of people, and it was also coming in earlier as well before I made that invitation. And today I want to talk to you about grief. And I reacted the way I reacted because what I wasn't aware of, at least cognitively yet, was making the connection to what time of year it is. 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago, and this might be new news to some of you, my wife Jennifer passed away. We'd been married for 16 years, and she passed away, cancer. And this was in June. And what I've realized over the last 4 years is that right around the beginning of May, things start to get stirred up in me. Now, being the master self-aware person that I am. I know to look out for this, right? I know to look out for this. Sometimes, being the bumbling, non-aware person that I am, I don't realize when I'm in it till I'm in it. And what had happened earlier this week was when she responded the way she did, it took me right back to a place that I used to feel when Jennifer and I would also butt heads. It's a place where I am working on continually. How many Enneagram 9s in the room? Enneagram 9s? Anyone familiar with the Enneagram? Let me start there. The Enneagram. Okay. Any other 9s in the room? Okay. If you don't know what the Enneagram is, please, as soon as you get home, Google it, look it up, figure out what type style you are. I'm an Enneagram type 9. And Enneagram type 9s, when we're not in our healthy place, we want to avoid conflict. And the reason we want to avoid conflict, because at our core, in our hearts, we are peacemakers, us 9s. But when we're not healthy, we feel like in order to keep the peace, I need to not rock the boat, and therefore don't create conflict, therefore keep everything buried inside. Okay? Which, as you can hear by that one little description, is a recipe for disaster. Okay? So as an Enneagram 9, I used to not want to create conflict. And somehow that got conflated with my upbringing that said to me, I am wrong, or I am bad. And therefore, when we had Sarah and I had that interaction earlier this week, all of a sudden, my shame button got triggered, and off to the races I went with that. Sometimes we don't know that we're in it until we're in it. So I'm also telling you this, by the way, by way of warning, in a sense. Or no, let me take that back. Invitation for you during the next month or two to hold me in a slightly gentler place of patience and understanding. Because as I am walking through this resurgence of grief that happens every time this year, I become, as I pointed out by my example earlier this week, a little less patient. I become triggered a lot easier. The already too thin brain-mouth barrier pretty much dissolves away, and I just say whatever comes to mind. Okay? Sometimes it's really insightful, profound things. Sometimes a little less. I exaggerate. Sometimes totally not at all. So I'm asking your indulgence is not even the word I want. It's just hold me in a little wider bit of love than I know you already do as I go through this time as well. A lot of the discussions that I've had from people in this community one-on-one center around this question of what am I to do with this grief? How do I heal it? And what I've been discovering myself because of my journey is healing is not the right word to use here. Our journey is not to heal the grief. Our journey is to surrender to it, and in so surrendering to our grief, we have the opportunity to turn it into a spiritual practice. It's probably not something you've heard a lot about, grief as a spiritual practice. We tend to think of spiritual practices as these bliss moments of high energy, of opening up and feeling love swirling, from like meditation or singing and chanting or But here's what I think a spiritual practice is. A spiritual practice is anything we do repeatedly that allows us to know the deeper parts of ourselves, the deepest parts of ourselves. And when we get to know the deepest parts of ourselves, that's how we get to know God. Let me say that again. A spiritual practice is anything we do repeatedly that allows us to know the deepest parts of ourselves. And in knowing the deepest parts of ourselves, we get to know God. Why is that? Because who are we at our core? This is Unity's second principle. Who are we at our core? At our core, we are divine. We are all that is. We are God, fully present at the point of each and every one of us. It is who we are at our core. It is our divine potential. It is who we are, and we get to know that. So how do we get to know that? We fully get to know ourselves and then even go deeper and even go deeper than that. And we do that through spiritual practice. Then by that definition, anything that takes us down into that place is a spiritual practice. Even if it doesn't fall under the normal category of spiritual practice, it's what it is. And if we let it, grief is one of those things. If we let it, grief can take us down deep within ourselves further than we've ever been before and beyond. And when I say grief, let me back up. I'm not just talking about when someone who we love and is very close to us dies. That's one level of grief. Anytime there is a loss, there's a grief. Anytime there is a loss, there is a grief. And when we grieve, we don't just grieve what or who we lost, we also grieve what or who is not going to happen as a result of that loss. We grieve the dream we had with this person or this situation. It's kind of perfect that I got requests to talk about this, and I decided to do it the week before our 25th anniversary. Part of the reason I'm doing it now, honestly, is because if I had to do this 3 weeks later, further down in May or early June, I don't know if I could do it, right? So I am, because, again, I say to myself, well, it's 4 years later. Of course you can get through something like that. Well, I've learned, don't make no assumptions about nothing, okay? But I'm in a good place pretty much today, so I'm like, let's get this out of the way now. And even that is a reflection of still a little bit of the discomfort that I feel. So here we are the week before 25th anniversary. This community has been a presence for 25 years. That's an amazing thing. And the interesting piece about that is that I'm only your second minister. I'm only your second minister after 20 years. I don't know if you guys realize how spoiled you were. But you had a great minister for 20 years.
And always an amazing music program.
Yes, that too, always. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Because you've only had the one minister for 20 years, this community has not had the history of going through what a lot of other spiritual communities go through when the minister leaves, someone else comes in, and there's this weird mush of transition and change. You guys are kind of like, and have been going through that for the first time in your 25-year history. Congratulations. And I say that because it's uncomfortable. It's been uncomfortable for many of you for the past 4 years. Uncomfortable to the point that some have left this community because the discomfort was too much. Because the pain of walking into something that was different from what it used to be was too much. Because grieving an experience that used to be that it's no longer here was too much. Many times when we lose something really, really close to us, the pain of the void that's left is so much that we can't handle it. It scares us. It scares us because we hadn't realized, or maybe we had, how much we identified ourselves and our self-worth and our sense of being with this person or with this event or with this thing, and now it's gone, and who am I? And it's scary to face that. It's scary to realize maybe the dream that I held with this person is now gone. And what comes next? I don't know. I'm lost in this ocean, and it is scary. You know what fear stands for, right? False evidence appearing real. I learned another acronym for fear. F everything and run. But think about that, though. Sometimes it is so scary. It is so scary to face. It's so scary to face our life and ourselves without this thing that made up so much of who we are and our experience, that even if physically we don't run, because sometimes it's what we do. Oh my, we got a new minister and things aren't the same and it doesn't feel the same. I can't handle it. I'm out of here. Or internally we do it. Internally we do it. I lost the love of my life. This hurts so much. I'm never going to love again. I can't love again. It's going to hurt too much to love. It's going to hurt too much to give all of myself and open myself up like this again. So I'm going to run away from doing it. I'm going to close my heart up. So even if we don't physically do it, sometimes spiritually, energetically, we do it. I was listening to, on the way up today, I was listening to the Mark Maron podcast. Anyone familiar with Mark Maron podcast? It's called What the F. I'm saying that twice today. This is an interesting place we're in. WTF. But he used to be a stand-up comedian, still does some, and he was one of the first people to embrace this podcast medium and do podcasts. And he has these amazing interviews with people and celebrities and experts. And recently, he interviewed Brene Brown. We all know Brene Brown, Darren Gritney's son. So I'm in the car, I'm driving up today, and I'm listening to this commute, and it's really, really fascinating, because, you know, I've heard Brene Brown from her TED Talks and stuff like that, and I don't know if you guys know this, but she's got a potty mouth. Brene Brown does. It kind of like threw me a little bit. But in a really good way, And now she's got a new Netflix special out, so if you want to check her out, do that. But she talked about this idea of we are so allergic to pain that we avoid it at all costs. And this is why we get stuck in a cycle of unforgiveness, because in order to forgive, something has to die. I was like, what? Rewind. In order to forgive, something has to die. And often what that is the idea, the attachment that we had to what was going to be. And when that, we realize we're at the point of death for that, sometimes we can't handle it. It is too much. It is almost just as, if not more painful than the actual loss we endured. It's a double whammy. You know what fear also stands for? Face everything and relax. Face everything and relax. Don't run. Stand. Face it. Take a deep breath. And by relax, I take that to mean don't resist. Just be in it. The reason I don't like the word healing when it comes to grief is because healing implies that something's broken, something's wrong. You got to fix. There's nothing broken. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. There's nothing that needs to be returned to the way it was before, as much as we might want that. When I use the word heal, I interpret it as meaning make peace with what is. To heal is to make peace with what is. To heal is to be in a place, even when it still hurts, to not have resentment, to not feel shame, to be open, vulnerable, and stand in the place of love. We can do that, and we can still be in pain. The two things do not rule each other out. We're human beings. We can have multiple thoughts and feelings at the same time. In the midst of pain, we can stand in love. And this is what grief does for us. One of the biggest emotions that comes up when we grieve is anger. Anger. We become angry at the person or the thing for leaving us. We become angry that it's not what it used to be. We become angry because it's not ever going to be what we thought it was going to be. We become angry. We become angry with ourselves. If I had done something different, maybe this wouldn't have changed. We become angry because then we leave or we go somewhere we can't find where else we need to be, and we're angry, angry, angry. But you know what anger is, though? Anger, if we let it, is a roadmap to show us where we still have some transforming to do. Anger shows us where we still have the attachments. Anger shows us where we need to insert love. That's all anger is. So if you're grieving, feel and express the anger in a healthy way, but realize the anger is your invitation. When we grieve, we may feel isolated and lonely. And the interesting paradox about when we feel lonely is that we respond by withdrawing, which makes us even feel more lonely, which makes us withdraw even more. You see where this is going. But when we feel the loneliness, let that be an invitation to realize, you know what? Maybe I feel lonely because I've never learned how to be with myself. I'm lonely because I've never fully loved and accepted myself, and I needed someone else or something else to tell me I was whole. Because if I am fully clear that all that I seek is within me, I'm never going to be lonely. Is it still fun to share your life and experience with other people? Of course, we are hardwired for connection. But debilitating loneliness is a whole other thing. And trust me, you can be connected in a room of 300 people and still feel lonely. Loneliness isn't about what's around you, it's about what's within you. And grief can take us shortcut straight to that place to invite us to heal that. And there's only one thing that we can do to heal, to make peace with all the parts of ourselves. And that's a healthy dose of love. It's going to take time, of course. We might need help, of course. But this is the gift of realizing that if, while in the midst of grief, we're in the midst of a spiritual practice, it can also instill hope in us. Knowing we're going to come out on the other side of something doesn't always help when we're in the midst of the pain of it. Knowing that after 4 years, in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I'm going to be feeling all kind of grief stuff coming up, and it's going to take all I can not to devolve into unhealthy emotional eating and be raiding McDonald's and Burger King every week. It's a thing. It's a thing. We all got our things to cope, okay? And for all the spiritual work that I do during this time, all of a sudden, you know, that cooking chicken fat smells real good. The next thing you know, I'm in the drive-thru line. We all have our things. Let's be aware of what those are. And when we're doing them, we're triggered. We're triggered by the grief of whatever loss it is that we're walking through. And you know what? That's okay. It's okay to be triggered. It's okay to have the feelings, but don't stop there. What are the feelings inviting me into? What are they inviting me to learn more about myself, the deepest parts of myself, and therefore my own divinity? Grief is a spiritual practice if we let it. So I'm in the midst of trying to write a book about this. It's so far, working title is 7 Stages of Grief as a Spiritual Practice. It's a book I tried to write initially 3.5 years ago, but it was too soon. And then 2 years ago was also too soon. And then last year was also too soon. And this past February, when I was in Barbados, where I'm from, usually take a little vacation during February to get out of the cold. I was meditating one day, and it all came to me. It came to me. Here's how to articulate this idea that you've been in the midst of, grief as a spiritual practice. And it's here how we can break it down. I'm telling you this out loud because I've written one book in my life previously. It's in the bookstore. Get a copy. I'll sign it for you. And the only way that book got done was me telling people about it. Okay? So along with my type 9 avoid conflict, I also have a bad dose, I used to have a bad dose of the fraud complex. Remember the fraud complex? One day they're going to figure out that I really don't know what I'm doing, and then they're going to run me out of town. Okay. So I'm here writing this book, the previous book, and the fraud committee, because I just don't have one fraud complex voice, I got a committee. The committee convened a meeting and put me at the head of the table and then proceeded to tell me all the reasons why this was a bad idea. Who did I think I was to write this book? Who's going to listen to me? You have no great thoughts to write about. You want to write a memoir? Dude, you're barely only 30. So the committee convened, okay? But what helped me was I told people out loud that I'm writing this book. And I had to borrow their belief because I was not able to believe in myself back then. I borrowed their belief. And the book got done, and it got written. It's in the bookstore. Buy a copy, I'll sign it. Wait, did I say that already? Okay, thank you. So what I want to read for you now, we'll wrap up the talk with this. It's the introduction from this new work that I'm working on. I want to share this with you because when I was writing in Barbados, or in the years before, there were fits and starts. I didn't know how to really articulate. It was all over the place. And then suddenly, in February, coming out of the meditation, this whole thing was like just downloaded. Boom, there it was. The introduction and then the outline. And now I'm working through it. And some days, it's easy to sit and crank out 3 or 4 pages. And some days, I'm like 3 words in, I'm like, I can't do this right now. You know? And I've learned to surrender to that being okay. Thank God I don't have a publisher giving me a deadline right now. But I'm telling you guys to, again, as I said at the beginning, help hold me in that space. This is spiritual community. I'm here for you, but guess what? I don't know if you knew it, but you're here for me too. So hold me in that space as the year goes on. So here's the introduction. And right after this, we'll go straight into meditation. 4 years later, and the pain of losing my wife to cancer sometimes still hits me like a surprise, swift punch to the gut, like an unexpected thunderclap on a clear day, like a sudden bone-jarring drop into an invisible pothole on an otherwise fairly smooth pavement. I say still, as though I should be experiencing anything other than what I am. I know better. I know that time loses meaning in the face of grief. I know others who have suffered loss 7, 11, 35, 48 years ago, and they still continue to pour tears into the void left behind. They say nature abhors the vacuum. Did anyone ever bother to tell grief? Jennifer took her last breath in the dark early morning hours of June 23rd, 2015. Our daughter Joy, 14 at the time, and I sat on the edge of the bed and held her right hand. Her mother held her left. Surrounding us were her father, her sister, and my mother. And with her last breath, a collective wail rose up from all of us. Joy pleaded with her not to go. Heartbreaking doesn't do it justice. Jennifer's mother asked for prayer. Joy and I tearfully recited the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds you. The love of God enfolds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and all is well. We called hospice, staying by her side until they arrived with the funeral home staff. I was surprised by how quickly her body lost its warmth and rigor mortis began to set in, her bony fingertips getting chillier with each passing minute. We were asked to leave the room while the funeral home staff prepared her for transport. Everyone retreated into their own physical and personal space. Joe and I sat on a sofa hugging each other, crying into each other. In what seemed like too few minutes later, someone from the staff invited us to say our final goodbyes. When I saw her on the gurney, all but her face covered by thick black plastic or vinyl, about to be zipped up, and an unexpected calmness came over me. Maybe I was relieved for her that her struggle was over, or that she was finally free from the body that failed her. Maybe I was so tired after consecutive days of interrupted and inconsistent sleep. I gently stroked her cool, emaciated cheek and left the room, returning to the sofa, immediately falling asleep. My grief journey had begun. Maya Angelou famously said, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." I was far from my best in so many ways that first year. And even when I began to know better, I didn't always do better. The despair was initially overwhelming. For months, it was sheer force of will and the responsibility of parenthood that got me out of bed in the morning. I had assumed that therapy, plus my tried and true spiritual practices, would gradually relieve the constant anguish. They didn't seem to be making a dent. Lots of alcohol and sex weren't helping either. Perhaps I was trying to move too fast, but it always felt like an internal struggle that wasn't easing up in any discernible way. Just before the first anniversary of her death, I found myself at a low point. It was a familiar low point. I felt exactly the same as I did right after her passing, if not lower. I knew that anniversaries were triggers that could bring a resurgence of grief, but I felt like I was facing it for the first time. Truth be told, I probably was. I also knew I couldn't continue dealing with the grief the same way I had in the past year, but I didn't know what else to do. Nothing had seemed helpful at this point. Then I remembered, if you can't beat them, join them. Or, in more spiritually appropriate parlance, surrender. It was the only thing I hadn't tried yet, and I knew why. I was afraid. I was afraid that if I surrendered to the grief, if I let it pummel me to submission, I might not get back up. I had a daughter to take care of. I had a church to take care of. People were dependent on me. Only then did I realize that the energy I had put into resisting the grief had so depleted me I couldn't think straight enough to remember the most important and basic lesson of caregiving: take care of yourself first. I had to trust my teenage daughter would be fine, the church would be fine, everyone around me would be fine. I knew I wasn't fine. And so, 1 year after my wife, my friend, my companion, my lover, my co-parent, my co-minister, my teacher, my love, departed this earthly plane, I let myself fall fully and completely into grief. And it's been a glorious awakening ever since. Let's meditate. So I invite you to take a deep breath. And become fully present to yourself right now. And become fully present to your own grief. To your own losses. Whether they may be personal ones, family, community. We've all been in loss. We're all in grief in some way. So however that may feel for you right now, just connect with it. Allow yourself to fall into it. Allow yourself to feel the pain of it, the despair of it. Allow yourself to weep if you must. And allow yourself to not stop the falling. Let the grief take you to the deepest places of healing that you require. The deepest places where we still need to accept ourselves, love ourselves, make peace with ourselves. This is who we are here to be. Simply making peace with ourselves. Allowing the love that we are to radiate up. Fall into grief is to fall into love. To fully surrender to the grief is to fully surrender to love. And it is only from love that we can truly realize our wholeness. It is only from love that we can truly realize our wholeness. I am love. I am whole. I am love. I am whole. Let us affirm this to ourselves for a few moments in the silence. I am love. I am whole. I am love. I am whole. Let us hold this affirmation for all the names in our prayer box, all these situations and requests from our community for others. They are loved and they are whole. I am love. I am whole. Should you hold this prayer intention for anyone else in your life, I invite you to say their names out loud now. In so doing, we do indeed see them on their journey of remembering their wholeness, remembering our wholeness. Indeed, at the essence of who we are, there is nothing broken. Simply, we have forgotten. And love brings us back home to our wholeness. Love brings us back to peace. Love heals us. I am love. I am whole. And so it is.
Love is all there is. Love is all there will ever be. Love is all there is. Love is all there will ever be. Love is all there is. Love is all there will ever be. Love is all there is. Love is all there will ever. God is all. God is all there is. God is all there will ever be. God is all there is. God is all there will ever be. And God is all there is. God is all there will ever be. God is all there is. God is all there will ever be. God is all there will ever be.
Thank you, Ogun. Your talk touched so many of us. Let's all just take a few deep breaths together. Knowing that as a community, we can share these emotions together. We can feel our feelings here. We can support each other and love each other. Whether the grief is about a job or a person or any kind of situation, we are here for each other. And our prayer chaplains are here for you. If you could please stand. They are available for you after the service to pray with you, to just be with you, and all of your prayers will be held in the strictest of confidence. So please meet with them if you feel the need after the service. They stay around even for a while, so there may be a few people who need that today. So please avail yourself of that. Thank you. We also have home and hospital visits available. I saw Nancy was here and Catherine. So if you have a need or have someone who is in a rehab or hospital, please speak with one of them or ask in the office if you have any questions about that, and they can provide that service. You can submit your prayer requests in the prayer box in the back. We also have a dedicated prayer line, which is also confidential, those requests will go to the prayer team. And you can call Silent Unity as well at any time, 24/7, and someone is there to pray for you. Now it's the time where we bless our offerings as you hold them. And breathe the energy of abundance into that as we say our affirmation. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
So I wanted to set up the song that the music team is going to do now, and apologize because usually at the beginning of the week, Meg says, hey, what are you talking about, so I can plan the music to suit. And usually at Monday and Tuesday, I'm like, I have no idea yet. It's still way too early. Thursdays are usually days I set aside to write the talk, and then, it came up that this is what I'm going to talk about today. But by then, the music was set, and earlier I said to Meg, hey, it's a great offering song that we haven't done in a while. I got everything I need to be happy. And I said, let me come up and introduce that, because it might be a bit jarring after what we just experienced. But as we sing it, please remember that truly is the deep truth of our experience. And it is a song of true abundance and prosperity, that everything we need is in here. So I'm sorry. Take it away.
No apologies are needed. Do, 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 do. I got everything I need to be happy. Do, 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 do. I got food, I got friends, I got this community. Yeah. I got the birds in the morning and the great blue sky. I got my heart beating so singing in my we do together. Oh, I've got everything that I need. Yeah, I got everything that I need. I got everything that I need to be happy.
That worked well. Let us take a moment, go to a place of gratitude within our hearts for these gifts, these tithes, these love offerings. So whether you gave here during service, you made a donation online as a live streamer, or you have an automatic transfer from your checking account, however you choose to invest in this spiritual community, your spiritual community, we are grateful. And we also practice the gift of tithing, and we give back a portion of these to the Amesbury community, the wider unity movement, and we are in the flow. And so it is. Amen and amen. Thank you very much. Two quick things. One, starting this week, office hours are going to be shifting. Instead of being open Monday through Wednesday, we're now going to be open Tuesday through Thursday. Same 10 to 4, but now Tuesday through Thursday. And also, as Michelle reminded us, next week is our big 25th anniversary service. If you know someone that you haven't seen here for a while, or you got a friend that you've always been wanting to come and they're like, I don't do church, next Sunday is a perfect Sunday to do it. So please invite people for next Sunday, for the Wednesday night service, for the Sunday after that. Let's fill the rafters next week. Michelle's got a couple more gratitudes.
It takes lots of people to put this service together, give their time to help not only on Sundays, but during the week. So thank you to everyone who does sacred service. Particularly, we have a few angels to thank: Lysandra, Malik, Donna, Carl, and Linda. And also, Susan and Denise for the beautiful altar flowers we had last week. Just incredible. And Rena and the prayer chaplain team for the Garden of Gethsemane. It was really wonderful if you didn't get here. And on Good Friday prayer chaplains, Sharon, me, Lacey, somewhere here today, and Judy. So we want to thank them as well. And now we'd like to have these teams stand up, those who are a member of the folding team. Hospitality team, please stand if you're in any of those. PowerPoint and live stream, thank you for all that you do. Small but mighty group, okay. And also we want to thank the board members that are present. If you could stand so we could acknowledge you. Thank you. They're always available to answer any questions after the service. Oh, and there was a group of Hardy Souls who was out yesterday working in the meditation garden. Sandy Wing, Imelda Kenny, Nancy Reese, Linda Samler, Ralph Henshaw, Jane Millett, Lysandra Sola, and Paula Kotu. So thank you so much. It looks beautiful out there. If you haven't had a chance to look, check it out. This week, we always have a Wednesday night service at 7 p.m. Please join us this week on May 1st. It will be led by our very own Reverend Ogun Holder for a healing service. So please come on Wednesday at 7. And now it's time for our really big song, I'm Trading My Sorrows. Perfect for today, I think.
Come on, Brian! Yeah, come on, Brian.
This is what I call a wrist breaker. All right, ready? Oh, I'm trading my sorrow. I'm trading my shame. I'm laying them down crushed, I'm persecuted, but I'm not abandoned. I'm struck down, but I'm not destroyed. I'm blessed beyond the curse, for his promise will endure. And his joy is gonna be my strength. Your sorrows may last for a night, but joy comes in the morning. I'm trading my sorrow, I'm trading my shame, I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. I'm trading my sickness, I'm trading my pain, I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. And we say yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, amen. And we say yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, amen. I'm pressed but not crushed, I'm persecuted, I'm not abandoned, struck down but I'm not destroyed. I'm blessed beyond the curse, for his promise will endure, and his joy is gonna be my strength. Your sorrows may last for a night, joy comes in the morning. Oh, I'm trading my sorrow, I'm trading my shame, I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. Oh, I'm trading my sickness, I'm trading my pain, I'm laying them down for the joy of the Lord. Here we go, bring it home. We say yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, amen. And we say yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, Lord, yes, yes, Lord, amen. La 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 la. That's it, girl. La 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 la. One more. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Let's remain standing as we welcome in our children, walking as the light.
We are walking as the light of God. 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 We are walking, we are walking, woo! We are walking as the light of God. We are walking, woo!
Thank you. You may be seated.
On this day, I stand in the presence. So we had a kind of relaxed day today, the week after Easter, but what we did focus on was, what is I Am Unity to them? What's it like for them? What do they notice it's like to come here and spend time here? So we'll get back to you about that next week.
All right. Looking forward to it. Let us stand, take the hand of our neighbor, and affirm the truth for ourselves, for these children, for the entire world. Yes, there is peace, and yes, it begins with us. Let there be peace on earth.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin
Protects us.
We are the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well, and we are richly blessed. See you next week.